Subversive Spectrum with your host, Sally Mayweather.
I want to tell you about my own story about being tortured in federal prison in the United States.
Roger Ver, unfortunately today he got arrested.
Free Roger.
Free Roger.
The real reason that I actually went to prison is because I was busy saying things like the things that I'm going to say in this video. Taxation is theft and war is mass murder, funded by theft.
Roger, Bitcoin Jesus himself, was a true pioneer.
Here you've got one of the most independent people in the world preaching and teaching people to individually empower themselves around the globe.
He's been very supportive of the work we do.
He's also an inspiration to a lot of people around the globe.
I couldn't express any more of how great of a person he was.
In 2014, Roger Ver left the United States. America apparently is the land of the free. You should be free to just leave.
The United States government considers you to be their property.
Roger paid millions of dollars to the United States government, and they're saying now that it's not enough.
You read the quotes from his lawyer, it's like, this is the evidence of someone trying to comply with the law.
He did everything according to the book. Nobody's ever gone to jail for that, ever.
The DOJ is actually using the Bitcoin Jesus term. They're literally going to crucify Bitcoin Jesus.
Just because some people get together and write down words on a piece of paper and call it a law, that doesn't alter morality one bit.
They're using the Trump case as a template for how they can go after any dissident.
This is very scary, frankly, 10 years later.
Government and central banks do not want this story out there.
The truth doesn't bend to whether or not we like it being the truth or not.
Roger's a good guy, and we all owe him a lot. It's really sad.
To say that he is instrumental in Bitcoin would be a radical understatement.
He's really believed in Bitcoin for the reasons that people should believe in Bitcoin.
It disgusts me from my core when I see government murdering people around the world. And Bitcoin has the power to undermine everything they're doing to people around the world.
Is it a coincidence? The only guy that's ever been criminally prosecuted on an exit tax interpretation is the guy that was exposing the intelligence community's attempts to infiltrate the Bitcoin movement.
There's nothing we can do to change the past, but we can work together to change the future.
From this moment forward, I'm on the same side as Roger.
Free Roger.
Free Roger. Free Roger.
It's as crazy a case as you can possibly imagine.
This is Freedom Dollar, FUSD, the world's first privacy-focused stablecoin built on the Zano blockchain. Unlike traditional stablecoins, FUSD is decentralized, censorship-resistant, and private by default. Each FUSD is over-collateralized with Zano and pegged to the US dollar using a decentralized algorithm. There's no CEO, no company, no central authority. FUSD is governed entirely by open source code and community consensus. Anyone can run a market-making node to help maintain the peg and further decentralize the network. All collateral and peg data are transparently published and verifiable at freedomdollar.com. CBDCs and corporate stablecoins can be frozen, tracked, and censored. FUSD can't. Use FUSD to spend, save, or transfer stable value without giving up your freedom. Freedom Dollar, private, stable, unapologetically unbanked. freedomdollar.com.
I think the Lightning Network, most folks will end up running Lightning nodes on their phone as well, because that's how you pay for a cup of coffee. Whereas I think base layer Bitcoin, rightfully so, is evolving into the FedWire equivalent of a US dollar system. It's the high value transfer system that costs more money to move but settles fast. Whereas the Lightning Network is low value, high frequency payments network, and it's a second layer network built on top of Bitcoin. I'm a huge fan of both of those.
What is up, guys? I'm Sal Mayweather. This is the Subversive Spectrum, and as you can probably tell, we are not back to our normal programming just yet. I'm still at the country. I'm in the Republic of Slovenia, in this beautiful city called Ljubljana. I'm here for the Bitcoin Cash Bliss conference, where we're celebrating the Velma upgrade. I'll be speaking tomorrow on the impact of Bitcoin Cash and peer-to-peer cash in general. So I think you'll enjoy it. Check it out. And yeah, if you feel like tipping Alex, because he worked really hard to put this together, you can go to xmrchat.com/Sal, throw him some Monero, and yeah, we'll be back next Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, only on X. So I'll see you then, guys.
I want to tell you about a friend of mine. His name is Roger Ver, a great man, a great idealist.
Roger Ver is one of the earliest Bitcoin pioneers.
He's currently in Spain and potentially facing over 100 years in prison in the United States.
The U.S. government is extraditing somebody for tax evasion to put him in prison for 109 years.
I wasn't an American, and I wasn't living in the U.S.
He had to leave the country in order to be safe.
Roger Ver is not actually guilty by the letter of the law.
They didn't send anybody else to prison for the same behavior.
The very concept of having to pay a tax to renounce your citizenship is abhorrent.
It's absurd on its face.
The DOJ is only using the tax evasion charge as a loophole to get around the laws that have not kept up with the technology like Bitcoin.
So they're using the tax system as a form of lawfare. As an example, don't you dare innovate.
They even illegally raided his attorney's office, which is not allowed.
We know it was lawfare. This is a precedent that will be used against everybody in the cryptocurrency space. Trump, you understand lawfare.
Donald Trump, a pardon of Roger Ver would send a very powerful message that you are not going to allow the Department of Justice to be weaponized against advocates of decentralized finance. And if you want to make America great again, you need people like Roger.
We're going to free the victims of lawfare in this country. Just like Donald Trump is a victim of lawfare, so is Ross Ulbricht.
I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht.
I feel like we're undergoing an emancipation from the financial terrorism that has so oppressed our best minds.
I watched so many of my heroes go to prison, be silenced, be debanked, and Roger was one of the first.
If anybody knows what it's like to be the victim of lawfare, it's Trump.
Roger, Godspeed.
I want Donald Trump to issue a pardon for this man. Free Roger now.
It's not a fun way to live day to day, knowing if this is your last day, not in prison, potentially for the rest of your entire life.
All right, guys, I am here with Crypto Royalty.
Don't think I go that far.
No. By far, Crypto Royalty. This is the one and only, the great Peter Rizun. Thank you so much for your time. I have been such a long-time admirer of you and your work. It's absolutely ridiculous. I'm so glad we finally get to catch up. Yeah, I wanted to do this for so long.
Great, well, it's my pleasure to talk to you.
Awesome. So you have some. One of the things I always ask, you guys know I ask guests about scaling all the time. There's a million different ideas out there. You had this really novel idea of using hardware to scale. You gave a talk that was pretty technical. I'm the stupid person. Can you break down your idea in a way that someone like me can understand what we're trying to do?
Let's see. Well, I guess I would start by saying, like, right now we're running Bitcoin software on computers, and that software runs on like a general purpose processor.
Right.
And that processor is a huge mess of transistors. Modern processors might have billions and billions of transistors.
Okay.
And we have these programs, but they're doing a couple things, very simple things, over and over again, right? Like signature checking, for instance.
Yes.
And that takes a lot of the processor's clock cycles to do those signature checks.
Computational power.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a lot of computational power. But you're dragging hundreds of millions or billions of transistors along for the ride that aren't needed to do that.
Okay.
So the idea is, instead of running it all on a general purpose processor, we just kind of take out the few transistors we need. Like we could do signature checking with 5 million transistors, a small fraction. And then we can duplicate that 100 times on a chip for the same cost.
Okay.
And now you have a chip that does, costs possibly less money to make, has fewer transistors, and can process 1,000 times more Bitcoin transactions than a general purpose processor, because it's designed specifically to solve that one problem.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So, what are the potential downsides doing it this way?
I don't think there are any.
Oh, I love it. That's great. Okay.
I guess it takes some work to get this
What would some of your, if Craig Wright was here, your buddy, what would
he would have said that he invented this like 20 years ago.
Yeah, of course. But no, like, what would your detractors say? Like, what would the critics, how would they argue against this?
Well, I think they would argue that we don't want to have to depend on specialized hardware, right? They say, well, now people can't run it on a general purpose computer. They need this specialized hardware in order to keep up if we got to that global adoption level, right?
Right.
But I would refuse, no, this is better. Like right now, we are trusting Intel. We are trusting the RAM manufacturers. We are trusting all these people that are putting the computers together. So we already are trusting the hardware in a sense. This, we would trust the hardware less because we can have open source hardware designs that are competitive. So we have our own, just like we have Bitcoin Core or Bitcoin BCH node that we can audit.
Right.
We can audit the hardware descriptions of these specialized circuits.
Okay.
So it actually makes it more, we rely on trust less with the specialized hardware.
Okay, so what does this look like in terms of like just a normal use case? This is an actual, like a chip that somebody would use, they plug into their USB drive. How does this work?
Okay, so there would be a couple phases, okay? So phase one that we're exploring right now, that we would have a card, like a little accelerator card that would plug into your motherboard, like over the M.2 slot, or through like the PCIe slot. It's just a card that you stick into your motherboard, just like you used to stick into like a Wi-Fi card back then. It didn't come out. So it's just like that, right? And it just accelerates the computations in Bitcoins that are hard to do.
Okay.
But where we want to go in the future, I think I don't like running Bitcoin on my main workstation.
Right. Okay.
I don't want. Sometimes I turn it off and I got to restart. So what I want is this little tiny node that I can just plug into my router, and it just runs cool as a cucumber, processing maybe millions of transactions per second one day, and I just SSH into it on my local network whenever I need to access it. So then I can kind of set it up and forget about it. And that's where I want to get to. So I don't even want to have to use this big computer system. I want to eventually get to the point where we've offloaded all the hard computations to specialized hardware. So now it just takes a little tiny, almost like Raspberry Pi like processor to do the rest of it.
Okay. And what would one of these processors cost? Would it be cost prohibitive? Can the average Joe afford one?
Once you get to scale, like there would be a lot of research time and money to develop this technology initially. But we're already spending tons of money. I think how much money went into Lightning.
Yeah, I know. Went right down the drain.
So this is a small amount of money compared to that.
Okay.
But once that's done, the cost of these chips would be like very cheap. Like I'm imagining the processor might be $10 or $20. The part that will always be a little bit expensive is the memory. Because we can't make our own custom memory. Like we still need to store the UTXO set somewhere.
Right.
And we're not going to make better RAM than the people making RAM. Because they're specialized in it.
Fair enough.
So if you want to store the entire UTXO set, you're going to need standard RAM. So that's going to be the dominant cost in the future. And so you imagine, like 16 gigabytes of RAM is what, like $100 or so. So that's going to be the thing that drives the cost of nodes.
I'll be honest, this sounds amazing. First of all, how come nobody's ever thought about this before? This is like, honestly, of all the different scaling solutions I've heard of, this has to be one of the better ones, if not the best one. So it's like, I guess what I'm trying to say is, I guess a more important question is, when can we see this being used?
Hopefully soon. I brought a prototype with me of the signature accelerator card. So that's working right now. We have that working. And we're hoping to start selling experimenters kits maybe as early as the summer.
Ooh.
So then it won't be like a mainstream solution, but it's the kind of thing where interested developers or interested like enthusiasts could buy one.
Why wouldn't it pick up mainstream?
I think the reason it wouldn't pick up mainstream is there's a chicken and egg problem, right? Like because the throughput is so low right now, why do you need this card?
Right. But once adoption increases, the need will become more acute.
I think so. Yeah. I think a lot of the reasons we didn't scale BTC back in 2015 is because a lot of people believed that was impossible. Just blockchains don't scale.
Right.
But if we had, then there would be a need for technology like this now. And I think it would. I know
you have this project because it was on your slide. Nexa.
Yeah.
Is the idea with Nexa to sort of utilize this hardware solution?
Yeah, and so Nexa utilizes the miners' incentive to get better in mining.
Okay.
To bootstrap nodes or to improve node technology.
Yeah.
Very confusing. So, like Satoshi created a Bitcoin miner with his first software, right?
Right,
it was a
right.
CPU miner.
Okay.
And it could do about 100,000 hashes for every joule of electric energy. So obviously, if you could do more hashes for that same joule of energy, you can make more money mining, right?
More efficient, right.
So today's miners, because they've gone from CPUs to specific hardware to ASICs, they're now doing like 600 billion hashes for that same joule of energy.
Okay.
So they've made that hardware 600,000 times more efficient. And they did that, like no one paid them to do that. They did that themselves because it was profitable, because that allowed them to make more money to reap more of the block reward.
Right.
So what we've done with Nexa is we're trying to harness that power. So instead of SHA-256 hashing, what the Nexa miners are doing, and we'll do better once the next hard forks go, is they're running the transaction. Basically, proof of work is validating a transaction. So to do one trial of proof of work, they have to do a signature verification and they have to do a UTXO set lookup. So those are the two bottlenecks of scaling. So they will be incentivized to develop better technology to do that quicker and cheaper. But that same technology is the exact technology you need to run the nodes better and quicker.
Okay.
So our hope is that the byproduct of the miners just being competitive and trying to make money, like the byproduct of the miners' greed, is that we get these really fast node technologies for free.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, yes. All right, let's switch gears a little bit here. One of the things that we talk about a lot here, these guys are probably tired of listening to me talk about it, is privacy and the need for privacy. My thesis, as you just heard in there, is, the state has launched this war on crypto to protect their monopoly on the issuance of money, and Roger Ver is being persecuted. Go to freerogernow.org and sign the petition. We've had a ton of other major figures in crypto being persecuted. The SEC has been weaponized against every major institution in crypto. So the need for privacy has become more and more profound. Is it possible to have privacy on Bitcoin Cash? This is my first question.
I think it's hard to have really good privacy, like to get Monero or Zcash like privacy. That's hard because you kind of need a whole different structure. But I think Bitcoin Cash has already succeeded with Cash Fusion. Like, how do you feel about Cash Fusion?
Well, I like it, but I'd like to see it on a more it's like an extra step. And the one speaker talked about the mom test.
Yeah.
Like your mom has to be able to do it.
Yeah.
My mom, she does. I mean, I've been telling her to get into crypto since 2012. I mean, for me to tell her to do Cash Fusion, I think it would be like, asking her to reboot the first computer or something like that.
It's a hard thing to solve because to add privacy at a really deep protocol level, it's a radical change. You lose some of the auditability that we appreciate. Like right now, everybody can check that there's been no inflation on Bitcoin Cash. So you lose some of those properties if you try to make privacy really, really entangled in the protocol. So that's why I really like Cash Fusion, because to me it gave you the benefits of privacy, but also the freedom to just have all the transactions tracked. So there are some times where you do want an audit trail.
Right, of course.
So I guess what I might suggest for your mom would be if we could have a wallet that it's just running Cash Fusion by default. So it's exactly. Think about it, right?
That's what I think too.
And Electron Cash does that to a certain extent. It's like you got to turn it on, but it could be made simpler. But the mobile phone wallets don't do it because when you put when my phone goes to sleep, Apple turns off Electron Cash, so it can't run that Cash Fusion in the background, which is if we could solve that, I think that would go a long way.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking too. Like you can have it just automatically work, and if I want to turn it off, I could. That would be a great solution because that's how money works in everyday life. Like if I handed you $1 right now, I slip into your pocket, nobody's gonna know. No. But if I want someone to know, if we're doing a contract or something, we're gonna explicitly write out the terms. So it should be sort of optional.
Yeah.
Totally
agree. I think there's most casual transactions, they might as well be fully private.
Right.
But there's times, if I have a contract, like you said,
I
want to be able to prove to this guy that, I did pay you.
Right. Yeah. All right. Switch gears again. The future of Bitcoin Cash. Obviously, we have this upgrade coming. Virtual machine limits are going up. What's going to happen next year, the following year, 5 years? Where's this project going?
I don't know. I mean,
you're one of the leading minds in this space.
Yeah, I like right now. I think there's a lot of different crypto projects going on. Like there's Bitcoin Cash, there's BTC, Monero, Zcash, Ethereum. There's like for 3,000 other things. So right now, I think the space is too scattered right now. So I want to see more people come
cohesion
and congregate around. I don't know if we want to congregate around certain coins or if we want to congregate around certain ideas. Like, what's your goal here? Is your goal here for BCH to be the winner, or is your goal here to have an awesome P2P electronic cash system?
The latter.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not a BCH maximalist. I'm a P2P cash maximalist.
Same as me. And I think BCH is one of the top contenders right now.
Exactly. Which is why I'm here.
Yeah. Right. But I'm not glued to that.
Right. I'm not tribalistic about it. I'm tribalistic about the need for P2P cash and the disruptive effect that it has.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah, so what I'd love to see is BCH trying to get more of the great minds from Ethereum, even from BTC and else, because there are a lot of smart people working on regular BTC, and they're starting to wake up to the fact that maybe core is not his.
Oh, I know. Well, especially now with all the opportunities and whatever, but like, that's another story for another day. But like, that's one of the things that concerns me about Bitcoin Cash is because I feel like privacy is needed to maintain that competitive edge on we are one of the leaders of P2P Cash right now. But I think privacy and that whole aspect of fungibility is sort of a core aspect that we need to sort of focus in on. So hopefully we will see, cash fusion and the optionals we were just talking, not to rewind, but, all right, one more gear switching here. Why does Craig Gray hate you? Why is he, every time I turn on Twitter, he's like talking shit about you?
I don't know. I think
you must be doing something right.
I just called him out on a couple. Like, he convinced a lot of people that he was Satoshi, and he would make these claims on Twitter and forums, and then he presented himself as an expert, and then he would say this things that just made no sense.
The opposite, I know.
Yeah, they were just plain right wrong. So I just got signal one day, and I just started calling him out on all the technical, I think I called it a techno babble that he was doing. And I made some really concrete points where I basically proved, what you're saying is, it's not even wrong. It's like incoherent. And he just lost it.
So I had him on the show like many moons ago, and he was very technical. I had to slow him down. I'm like, I'm not a technical expert, and I was able to have like a sort of relatively normal conversation with him. And I walked away from that conversation thinking he is a relatively intelligent person, but he was not Satoshi. Because, I think there was even some things that I brought up was like Satoshi would say things in the forums, and I would ask him about it, and he would just reply with the opposite opinion. So, proof's in the pudding.
There's no way he is Satoshi.
Who do you think is Satoshi? I know it doesn't matter, but you are one of the key dudes in that arena.
I'm not Satoshi.
You are not Satoshi, huh?
I don't know, maybe we all are Satoshi.
Could be him, guys. All right, Peter, thank you so much for your time, man. I appreciate it. It's been an honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, hope I'll see you here next year as well.
I'm trying to come back.
All right, guys. Peace.
Roger Ver is one of the pioneers of the crypto space.
Bitcoin Jesus. Leave it to the Biden administration to try to figure out a way to crucify Bitcoin Jesus.
My first thought is maybe it's not really about the taxes. Maybe there's something more to this story.
Roger Ver's not actually guilty by the letter of the law.
He did everything he possibly could to comply.
So they're using the tax system as a form of lawfare. As an example, don't you dare innovate.
If anybody knows what it's like to be the victim of lawfare, it's Trump.
Donald Trump. A pardon of Roger Ver would send a very powerful message. And if you want to make America great again, you need people like Roger.
We should be proud of our country. We should keep our best and our brightest. We shouldn't be chasing them out.
That's the stuff that all the U.S. propaganda wants you to believe goes on in Russia all the time.
Look at the evaluation of Mar-a-Lago case. Look at the New York cases. Look at the D.C. cases. Trump, you understand lawfare. People in this administration have a sensitivity to this and an awareness of this issue that has never been present in the executive branch before.
I feel like we're undergoing an emancipation from the financial terrorism that has so oppressed our best minds.
We want to see President Trump get rid of the lawfare agreement, as he was once victim of. A pardon, lifting of charges, whatever it takes. It's time to free Roger.
Free Roger.
Free Roger.
Free Roger.
Roger, Godspeed.
I want Donald Trump to issue a pardon for this man.
Free Roger.
Free Roger.
Free Roger.
Free Roger now.
In 3.5 years, the current administration has waged a war on crypto and Bitcoin like nobody's ever seen before. It has to stop, and it has to stop now.
We've all been predicting the war on crypto for years. I've also always said that at the end we win. You know, the state will use different tools against us, but you know what? We're going to turn around and we're going to have things like Zano pop up in response to problems that they create. And Zano is a sort of solution to all of it, like the tokenization, the confidential layers. So I remain confident because I really think that we innovate more quickly than the state does. The state's always going to push back because they want power and money and whatnot. But at the end of the day, I think it's sort of the market always wins.
All right, guys, I'm here with the one and only Andrey, creator of my favorite crypto project, Zano. What's up, man? It's good to finally meet you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Tell me about Zano. How did you come up with it? Tell me the origin story.
The origin story, like long story or long story, short story?
Medium story.
Started to work on in the blockchain like 11 years ago, 12 years ago. And it's been like really long story. I started to work on a startup that's recently got known as Cryptonaut. So I was working as a lead developer. I created this codebase. It was pretty cool time. We created a whole new codebase. We were the first who created new codebase because before was people just forking Bitcoin. So we created the whole new thing from the ground, from the scratch. Then I decided to leave the project because I didn't like the way it launched. So that's not the way I would do it. So I quit, started to do my own thing, make a lot of mistakes. And then in 2018, I decided to launch a new project based on this technology. So I found a founder who I felt comfortable to do this project with, Pavel. So we started to do this project in 2018. In 2019, we launched the main network. And that's pretty much the story. The visionary behind the project back in 2019 was just building something that will be suitable for P2P business, e-commerce, but then we got not little pivot, but we changed the visionary. So we decided to build something more suitable for people, for someone who want to build on top of privacy project. So we decided to make something that will create a platform for people who want to build on privacy. Yeah, that's it.
So the initial goal was peer-to-peer cash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so originally we were like most of the industry, we were thinking that we're building just peer-to-peer money, private money. But then we saw how industry got transformed into something else that people actually using for money. something else, something that called stablecoin. It's not necessarily should be tied to dollar or something, but what people do is they pay with something that is connected to the value of real world assets. For example, cup of coffee, it's like classic example. It's been since the beginning of creating the blockchain that people wanted to pay for the cup of coffee with digital cash. But if the price of the asset can change during you drink this coffee twice or like 10-20%, it's really make challenging to pay. And what was happening during this time that during 2019, 2021, the people was starting actually to use in the actual payment, they use it stable coins and some sort of assets for this. And we started to see that we have to build something more advanced to create this platform, because we don't want to build a stable coin itself because it's economical challenge, and we are engineers. We're building algorithms, we're making research, we deliver technology. So we decided that we will be focusing on this. That's what we've been doing since that. So in 2021 we started to talk about this and trying to define our vision, trying to figure out, especially Pavel was behind this idea. He said, this is the direction we probably should be moving. And by this time already been a few attempts to create something like this with the privacy.
Like Monero, Zcash.
Monero is a little bit different. They have a very conservative core supporters, which see Monero as a pure money, as a digital cash itself. So they was focusing on it. And even after in last year, when we was visiting Monero events, and when we was discussing with Monero supporters how they see Monero, what they want to do, they still want Monero to be pure cash. So they don't want any tokenization on Monero. At least it was like last year's.
Yeah, but see, that's the beauty of Zano, is that not only does it work as digital cash, you can also create tokens on top of it. It does all in one.
Yeah, we just give the freedom to people. If they want to use Zeno as a payment, they totally welcome. If they want Zeno as a platform, or if they want to use Zano as investment, whatever they want, they're free to do. We just deliver technology and do our best.
Yeah, I think it's great because it does all of those things better than most coins are doing them today. All right, let's talk tokens for a second. Confidential layer, what is it? When can I use it? What does it do and when can I use it?
Confidential layer or confidential assets?
Confidential layer.
It's confidential layer. It's another project that we're helping this project to build the bridge between assets from EVM universe. So having assets in Zana and isolated from everywhere else is like it's fun, but it's not really practical because EVM universe like Ethereum, all other networks, Solana, because they have a virtual machine, they have plenty of great projects that build financial ecosystem, and they have a lot of liquidity there, a lot of valuable
coins like Ethereum.
Yeah, they have a lot of assets that have a lot of practical use, and confidential layer is project that can bridge these assets into Zana to give the privacy to any asset from Ethereum or Optimism or any
So you
other.
can trade, for example, Solana. If I wanted to trade Solana privately, I could use the confidential layer to bridge onto Zano and then trade it on the Zano blockchain privately.
Trade is another feature that we have. It's works a little bit. It's not like liquidity pools in Ethereum or EVM networks, but we're trying to build something similar. We call it ionic swaps, where a person can privately and securely swap one asset into another in one transaction.
I saw that feature in the wallet.
Yeah.
So if I wanted to explain it to me, so if I have Zano and I wanted to convert it into something else, I can use an iconic swap.
Yeah, you can use Iconic. We call it Ionic Swap, but if people will start to call it Iconic Swap, I would take it as a great success.
Can I just change the name? Let's do it.
Yeah, Iconic Swap sound really cool.
Okay.
So yeah, if you, for example, the way it works now, the way technology works now, for example, if we agreed on the price and amount of how much we want to swap.
Like, so in other words, if you wanted to swap Zano with me for another token.
Yeah.
A different token.
Yeah,
Okay.
so we agreed on this. We can totally do it in a safe way, so no one can scam each other. So
Peer-to-peer.
Peer-to-peer. I send you a proposal, which looks like ugly encoded hex code, but this is underlying technology. We still working and we let others to work on the building on top of this, but underlying technology exists. I will send you half created transaction. So you cannot take money from me, but if you find add missing part of this transaction with your part of the deal, this transaction became legit to send to the network, and the deal is done. You're getting your coins, I'm getting my coins, and
It's lovely.
Yeah.
It seems so innovative. How did you think of all this shit, dude?
It's actually built on top of a lot of ideas that is not only mine, there's been a lot of ideas in the industry. And I saw a couple of years ago, I saw in one of the conferences that the people came up to the same idea, very similar idea. Also, they named it somehow different. So that's just ideas that are in the air of blockchain industry. So
you just kind of put it all together.
We use these ideas.
Are you happy with how Zano's done? I mean, it was one of the top performing coins last year.
Yeah, we actually appreciate a lot of that. We're getting a lot of support from, especially from Roger Ver, from Aaron Day, from people like you. That we really appreciate it because we've been doing this for a long time. I've been building this technology for 10 years, and finally we get recognition. We get people who are behind our backs supporting us. This feels really good.
Well, you know what it is? It's that you created something that works for people who want more financial freedom and more financial sovereignty, which is why I think guys like myself and Aaron and Roger are like, we saw the project and we're like, wow, this kind of checks all the boxes, so to speak, you know?
Yeah, we hope it is. It puts also a lot of pressure on us because I feel like responsible for everything, and now we're getting more integrations, more exchanges, more wallets, and it feels a little bit overwhelming, but I like what we're doing. So
Edge Wallet just integrated Zano today, although I'm not even sure if that's ready for release yet. We're gonna have to cut that. So wait, what's next for Zano? When you go back home, what are you going to work on? What's the next thing we can expect?
Oh, we have so much. That's the thing that we actually have a lot of small technical things that we have to do just to catch up with everything that's going on. But from outside perspective, it looks like nothing going on. Like we cannot roll up like a huge features tomorrow. But we have to fix a wrap that is working not perfect right now. We have to make a lot of improvements on the database side. We have to make dynamic fees things. We also actively working on improving our consensus, and this is gonna be a new thing. We actually see opportunity right now to switch Zano to pure proof of stake, and we're still working with few researchers to make it possible. I cannot guarantee that because we started to work on improving our consensus hybrid model, and then we were working with researchers that helped us to understand that it's actually possible to build a pure proof of stake that will give us so more strength, so more power in terms of consensus, and give us faster finality. So if everything will gonna work as I really want, we will have a close to finality guarantee in about 1 minute. So it's gonna be like 6 confirmation 1 minute, and we'll have
Where are we now?
So we are working on theoretical work right now. So if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen in 1 year.
No. Where are we in terms of confirmation times right now?
Right now we need about 20 minutes. So it's kind of old school style, like project that was like raised like 5-6 years ago. It was normal, but we really want to get into like modern industry standards, like the best project works.
Right,
like in Ethereum, we get finality nearly in 1 or 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So we're aiming to get there. And I think that we saw the opportunity to do this because even like 6 months ago, I didn't know how to build this. So
All right, yeah, we should wrap up. It's getting noisy around here, guys. I will catch up with you guys in the next round.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. You guys murdered us. You murdered us.
Yeah, we're probably gonna find some other spot.
Yeah. It was quiet. Well, at least we got 10 minutes in. If I get like 10 or 15 minutes in, 2 or 3 people, peaceful together.
Yeah. Thanks for making all this.
Thank you for doing it, bro. Thank you for doing it.
My pleasure.
I appreciate it. I really, I don't know, man. You built something cool. I think you.
I'm still in the process, actually. It's a lot of work to do. People. That's what I actually fear about. That people overestimate that because we're trying ourselves, but still have a lot of things to implement. A lot of things to improve.
That's almost good that you feel that way because it'll keep you on edge. To like.
Yeah.
Keep it
on edge. It's actually a very
good word.
Yeah, it's my strongest fear that we'll fail at some point. That people will have so much trust in us.
Have confidence, man. Have confidence.
No, I mean, I know what we are doing. I know my job, but there is so many, even simple mistakes can cost a lot of money. People like you, like Roger. Roger have so much support. He invested so much money, and we're just stressed with this whole stuff.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine. It's people make investments.
No. Yeah.
I'm confident that it works. I mean, it does work. I use it.
Yeah. So far, it's all good. We're happy with what we got. I mean, we're happy with the technological outcome, and we're really happy.
I think
now we're getting great.
Doing great. I mean, again, only the top 10 performing coins last year. That's fucking awesome, bro.
But it's not on us, it's Roger. It's all Roger. He created so much awareness about projects. He even invested.
But people like Roger wouldn't be involved in it if you didn't create something that works well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah. Because you create a good project, that's what attracts people to you.
Yeah, but that's a lot of work ahead. We really, what I was saying about confidential areas, really we have to bring real tokens from real world because like privacy projects is like really small in terms of capitalization, really small piece of everything.
Yeah, so far.
And they have tons of money. And if we educate these people, that privacy is really available to them, we need to come.
Right. Well, that's the thing, because Zano has been around since 2019, but it's really only gotten publicity in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, like, essentially brand new. It's like I know you've been doing it for 60 years, but for most crypto people, they're just learning about it now.
Yeah.
Give it 5 or 10 years, and the market cap is going to be 100 times what it is.
Yeah.
Especially if it continues to do all the things that it's doing.
Yeah. I hope.
All right, let me go find my next victim.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, my friend.
Now we are dealing with a possible world war. Some will say we are already in a world war. My condolences and prayers go out to everyone suffering under tyranny. It really sucks. I'm really sorry. But it seems as if people are starting to wake up regarding crypto more and more each day. And so it's in the description right here to read where we give our secret sauce and what we teach our subscribers because things are just that bad. Everyone needs this information. People need to know about sound cryptocurrencies that are actually private by default and to know how to properly use crypto.
Free Roger Ver, one of the best people I know. The man has funded surgeries. He has done things for people behind the scenes that people don't even know about. He's the most charitable individual I know. He's funded so many crypto projects, it's just unreal. Just an all-around good human being. I really can't say enough about the guy. He essentially was giving a speech about Waco and how the ATF burned 70, 80 women and children alive. Did you ever see the movie Patriot with Mel Gibson?
Yeah.
Remember the scene where they burned a bunch of people alive in a church?
That's literally what happens in real life. The ATF and the FBI burned a church of Seventh-day Adventists alive, women, children, men, the whole thing. And then they stood on top of the charred remains of the bodies and took pictures. You just can't make this shit up. The government is just evil. But Roger was talking about this at a campaign event, and there was an ATF agent in the audience. And they held a grudge because of this. And Roger happened to be selling fireworks on eBay. And he wasn't the only one, but he was the only one who was ever charged.
They just needed something.
They charged him with some obscure law about moving explosives by mail or something like that. Sent him to federal prison, does his time, comes out, and he's like, they're after my ass. I gotta get out of here. If they can do that to me, what can't they do to me? Renounces his citizenship. He goes out of the country. A bunch of lawyers to file all of his exit documents, his tax returns, the whole nine. He goes, lives his life, starts a bunch of companies, very successful, kills it, promotes all these ideas, very charitable. 10 years later, the government comes back and says, hey, remember when you left? You didn't pay enough. You got the number wrong. So for that, we're going to give you 109 years in prison. By the way, this is right after he wrote a book called Hijacking Bitcoin. And what it does is in the book, Rogers, they call him Bitcoin Jesus because he was always the premier promoter of Satoshi's version of Bitcoin. And he wrote this book, Hijacking Bitcoin, where he exposes the government's role in keeping blocks small. And they did that because they knew that if it was not usable as a medium of exchange, it would not be a threat to the US dollar's monopoly. It would not be a threat to the banking cartel's monopoly on the issuance of currency. So Roger wrote this book exposing their role, crippling Bitcoin, hijacking Bitcoin. And as soon as he does it, they're just like 109 years.
All right, everyone. This is I believe the last session of the day. And today we're going to be talking about, like I said, the other hopeful solution for BCH, rather than having to change its security model, would be adoption. And we're going to be talking about social impact and adoption. I have my panelists up here. I have a little bit of a opening introduction that I want to do before I introduce the panelists. And I'm actually going to be joining you guys sitting down, so if you don't mind scooting down one, I appreciate that. But filled in a room with entrepreneurs in kind of the basis of the BCH Bliss concept and the conference of bringing builders together with investors and community to build businesses. Me as an entrepreneur wanted to share kind of a message that I think I've really based all my companies in the way we market, in the way we speak to customers, in the way we speak to users to win over hearts and minds. So this is something that I found about over 10 years ago, 15 years ago, how to communicate marketing. It was by a gentleman, Simon Sinek. You guys have probably seen him out there. He did a TED Talk probably 15 years ago. And just saying the way we speak to people, we should tell people why we do things, not how we do things. And I'll go into some examples of that. But essentially, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And I want that to kind of sink in. And if anyone wants to talk to me afterwards or offsite just about building businesses and marketing and sustainability, in growing users, it's something I love to talk about and something I've been investing heavily in myself for my companies. So I want to talk about, how to capture whys of, obviously Bitcoin Cash has a why, right? And it may be different in a decentralized ecosystem to everyone, but also your specific companies may have different whys. So this is just an example of, big companies in America today, how they speak to people, and they don't necessarily explain how their products work, but they explain why they do it. So like, for example, Tesla, to accelerate the world's transition to sustainable energy, doesn't tell you how a car works, doesn't tell you about products and features and what the car does, but it's simple messaging of why the company exists and why anybody should care. And furthermore, there's several other examples. Apple to challenge the status quo and to think differently. Again, nothing about how their new products and features work, just simply why they exist and the type of people that they are trying to attract. Again, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And this was an exercise we did just towards Bliss, and it was a very fun exercise I did with my my co-founders of Bliss here, Jeremy and Jonathan. We really tried to come up with why people should come to Bliss. I get luck here. And this video was kind of an inspiration of that, but essentially our mission here is to inspire innovation and curiosity in Bitcoin Cash for further development to attract users. So it's something I wanted to share as we're jumping on the topic of creating more users and businesses in this room that are looking to seed investment or grow profits. I thought this was useful marketing or useful messaging that I found useful in my career.
What's BCH Bliss?
But without further ado, we're going to hop into our panelists, and we're going to go over some topics to do with adoption. And I'll go ahead and I'm going to give them all the first question. And with that first question, they can also introduce themselves as they are all mic'd up. So we'll start at the far left with Sakib. And Sakib, the first question is, in your opinion, how is BCH doing with adoption? And if you could answer that question with your introduction bio.
Thank you so much. And firstly, it's an honor and privilege to be presenting with you all today. It's my second time here at Bliss. And hopefully, I'm hoping next year I'll be on the podium presenting the project that I've been working on. So as a background, it's really hard for me to define myself because I have so many different things going on. But if anybody ever had to remember me, I would love it. It's not about BCH, but I'm an pediatric surgeon. I've worked on 5 continents as a surgeon in disaster zones and other areas, and I'm currently working at a charity in Cambodia working with impoverished children and operating on them for free. On my side job, I work with General Protocols for the last 3 years, building and developing their products and being the kind of push behind BCH Bull and the marketing and the promotion and the UI and the development. And I'm extremely proud that BCH Bull is kind of a flagship product for BCH. And the last one, which is the most important one in relation to the question, is that I've developed a journal which is targeting the massively profitable publishing industry, which is gatekeeping medical research. And to answer the question of how BCH is doing in terms of adoption, my technical answer is the first thing when I was building the journal was I needed to build a system that allows the journal to integrate with Bitcoin Cash and payments. And I was quoted by a developer $20,000 to allow my journal on my platform to accept Bitcoin Cash payments. This was back in 2021. And I was like, well, that's wild. And then I discovered Prompt Cash. And Prompt Cash was just it was already there, completely easy, got it integrated within a second, and that was amazing. And so having that tool allowed me to just adopt Bitcoin Cash as a payment network instantly. And so that was amazing. And so the next question is, how do I get adoption from my users? And that is becoming a bit of a challenge. So the journal is becoming extremely successful. It's getting adoption. We've got 400 users. We've got multiple peer reviewers. I won't talk about the model, but I'm onboarding Bitcoin Cash to places all over the world. So in the last 3 months, we've sent Bitcoin Cash to Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi, Nepal, Pakistan, India, Sri Lanka, Italy. These are all new Bitcoin Cash users. And they know nothing. They know nothing about crypto, and they don't really care about the technology and the whole thing. They just wanted to earn via the journal. And so they're very educated, very smart people, surgeons, medics. But I think the vast majority, when I've sent them crypto, this is what I'll challenge a little bit on Callisti and some of the current wallets, is that they've not all of them, but the vast majority of them have lost their crypto because they didn't understand the seed phrase, they didn't understand how to back it up, they didn't understand the technology behind it. And so one of the challenges I'm having is recommending a wallet that actually allows a no-coiner to understand very easily what they're getting and how to protect it in a very simple, easy way.
We'll do this, we'll do a grading. 1 out of 10, how good is BCH doing on adoption?
In my network,
global adoption, and 1 being nobody uses.
I can only talk about the medical profession, and I would say it's 1, because my real network knows nothing about crypto. And when I mention Bitcoin Cash, they all just think Bitcoin and scam and what is this? Every single person. So I would say Bitcoin Cash in my network of the world is 1.
Gotcha. Thank you. Thank you, Sakib. The next gentleman here you may recognize from formerly Twitter X, Mr. Sally Mayweather, Sal the Agorist. You want to give your introduction and give your summary of how you think BCH is doing with adoption.
Sure. So my name is Sal Mayweather. You guys may follow me on Twitter, Sal the Agorist. Thank you. I think it's done pretty well in retail adoption. I mean, especially like relative to other coins, that's always been our strength, right? It was P2P Cash, and I think because we sort of carried the Bitcoin name, whenever a company or an exchange accepts crypto, we're always one of the ones in there, and that's always been our strong point. I think we have sort of fallen off a little bit. Like we've probably went from like I'm talking like relative to other cryptos. I would say like adoption was probably at a 9, but maybe now we're at like a 7.5 or an 8. And hopefully we'll get a chance to talk about some different ways to improve that.
Very nice, very nice. Elliot, I know you had a speech earlier, but if you want to jump in and talk more about yourself or tell us how BCH is doing with adoption.
Yeah, so I'm going to chime in there with what Sal was saying. So if you're looking at it from other crypto point of view, then BCH, I think it's still very high. I think it's one of 8, 9, 10 when compared to other cryptos. But I think it's obvious to say if anyone's actually out there in the real world, the adoption of any crypto is 0.00001. Like there's 8 billion people to adopt,
it's
basically. It's still something. So, thinking of what Callisti said, the Satoshi quote, that, we'll leave in 20 years, we'll have loads of transactions or none. And I think when we look at that and we look at, all the steam that was happening with Bitcoin up until the split, and the usage and the growing, we haven't seen that exponential growth. We had the split and the fork, and since then, Bitcoin Cash has done really good in certain areas. In the Philippines right now, we're seeing great adoption. But when looking at a global part, when people say like, hey, it's not early anymore, it's really late. No, it's not true at all. We're right at the very start. We haven't even begun this journey yet.
1 out of 10.
1.
1, okay. All right, so
and it still is still in the pole position from all cryptos at 1.
So my next question is, to get from wherever you guys started, we'll go back to Saqib. If we're at a 1, especially in your industry, how do we? My question was, what is the largest challenges BCH faces with adoption? Essentially, how to grow that up from your perception in the medical field. What challenges does it face? And you kind of hit on a little bit, but if you want to dig deeper into that.
I think the key is the utility and the problems that it solves, and that's the challenge. That it's not easy to find a niche that Bitcoin Cash specifically can resolve. But if you've got a problem that is solved by the currency and the properties of that currency, and then you've got enough user base who need that problem solving, and it, in my opinion, has to be relatively a niche user base. When they onboard into it and understand the property and use it, and have a microeconomy of using that, that's how it sustains itself. And then as that small microeconomy develops and more people onboard into that niche, I think that's the way it's going to get taken. Because we can have retail and we can have all these other issues, but I just can't see how that is going to actually network effect enough to be sustainable unless it has the properties that the people need.
Well, you mentioned one issue. A lot of the people that are getting paid in BCH are losing their keys too.
Right.
Can you elaborate more on that and how that's obviously a challenge and may turn them off to pay me in something else that I won't lose?
Yeah, it is a challenge because it's very frustrating. Like just one of my board members just a couple of weeks ago said, "Which wallet did I use?" And I couldn't remember. I can't remember how I onboarded him at the time. And so they've changed their phone, or they haven't maintained what they've got. And so you think, well, the problem is I want obviously them to adopt the currency and then start using it, but I need them to understand the technology a little bit for them to embrace it. They have to have some baseline knowledge. And so should I pay them? I can't pay. The problem, well, it's not a problem, it's a blessing that I can't use, and this is the beauty of the product that I have. I can't use any other payment system. I can only use Bitcoin Cash with the exception of perhaps Litecoin or any other crypto that's trying to be a payment network, but like Elliot just said, BCH is the #1 payment network, crypto-oriented service, right? So I can't choose anything else. So I'm hampered and blessed by the fact that I have to use BCH to pay my reviewers, and I have to accept BCH to get payments back in. So what I need is a better onboarding system, and it's been a frustration for me that I don't have a go-to wallet. I've been changing the wallet I've been recommending people to go to, and I don't have a very clear pathway to teach them how to use it in a simple way that it doesn't waste their time, and it gives them the very basic essentials in a very, very quick way that I'm confident that they're secure in it. So I would love to see that.
So we have some more questions later about wallets, and we'll dig deeper into that. and a lot of representation in the room right now. But we'll go to Sal next. Sal, you said we were at a 9, went down to a 7. How do you see BCH climbing itself back up to that 9 level or even a 10?
So like the standard answer that I would give a room full of like newbies is to just use it. It's P2P cash. I started a company called 3D Printer Go Burr because I thought that the idea was it's P2P cash, right? And some people don't want politicians to know that they're buying 3D printers. So here's a great solution and way to use and promote cryptocurrency. And it was wonderful. We did a ton of sales in crypto, and I thought that was great. But you guys know all that, so that's like not even a surprise to this audience. But what I think this audience should know, so like more people who are more have more expertise in crypto, is privacy, guys. We need privacy desperately on the Bitcoin Cash chain, especially now. We've seen like I guess it started with Ross, but it's really the war on crypto has really ramped up under Joe Biden. We've seen the SEC weaponized against every major crypto institution. Roger Ver has been persecuted by the political class. Tons of every major figurehead from all the different tribes in crypto have been persecuted. So privacy is no longer optional, right? And we should have known this because the Austrian economists always told us about fungibility. And I think a lot of us sort of took that for granted. We thought, we have pseudonymity, which is, it's pretty good. But it's not good enough anymore. And I think that if we can somehow, I'm not the guy to do it. I'm not the smarter. I'm one of the dumber people in this room. A lot of the technical talk goes right over my head. But I'm sure a lot of you out there can probably figure this out. Like, we need privacy, guys. So that's I think a key to getting adoption in this age of persecution and the war on crypto.
And from your perspective, that will get us back up to a 9, to a 10.
I think it'll help a lot. But again, the key is we have to use it. Like we have a business out there, accept Bitcoin Cash, make it simple. We have to, and we have to compete with other cryptocurrencies too. And I think that's where privacy comes in. So.
Yeah, I won't mention who, but we were speaking to a developer yesterday and kind of the excitement with privacy technology with the VM limits upgrade tomorrow. And I found one of the responses to not be unusual, but like probably what you don't want to hear is that, a fear of being the one to champion that because of the persecution. So curious to see how the community will respond in general to having the ability to privacy tool, but also stay clear of the status class.
The SEC.
That may not like it, yeah. So thank you for that. We'll go to Elliot next. Elliot, we are at a 1 right now, but I think you kind of jumble us in with the rest of crypto.
Yeah.
So maybe from the perspective of crypto, we're doing better, but so maybe it's generally crypto ahead of BCH. How do we get at least to a 2 or 3 here?
Yeah, so how do we get this? I mean, for me, the 2 or the 3 is, of course, a nice stepping stone. How do we get it to a 10? I imagine that when it does happen, it's going to be explosive, and in a couple of years, it will go from the 1, the 2 to mass adoption. And it's like what I was presenting about. I think, like the merchant adoption that's going on in Townsville or BCH City and in Tacloban City in Philippines. This is really important, and I'm very proud of Bitcoin Cash because of this. We need to use it, and we need places to use it. But the challenge with the store is and the merchant adoption is it's not very scalable. So you adopt 100 stores, you adopt 200 stores. Okay, but how many users do you need to be able to feed those stores so that they understand how to use Bitcoin Cash, they don't forget it, so they don't lose their wallet and their keys? Is it 10 users per shop that use it frequently, or 100 users? And what's frequently? Is it once a week, once a month? Like, there's quite a volume there, and it's quite challenging. So I see the key for mainstream adoption of Bitcoin Cash being digital, like being the internet magical money of the world, and I think that's what my presentation was about. Fail hard, fail often, iterate, persevere. I think if anyone here says I know how it's going to happen, well, you're lying, because otherwise you would do it and it would be there. Right? And that's a great thing about the free market. If you look at most inventions, it was discovered by accident. Like someone was trying to make this, but they made that, and it's like, hey, that works, and they sell it. Right? That's just how discovery works. And then you tell the story afterwards, like some lie that was always what I intended. So what I just invite everyone is the key to success is just get your ideas out there. See if there's traction. Don't just stay and build for perfection. Get it out. Get some market reaction to your particular idea or product. Iterate. make it better, scrap it, and think, hey, do you know what? This is just not getting the feedback that I require. And it will be like an idea that no one's thought of right now that is the success and is going to drive it. Or it's going to be emergent coding there. So let's see.
Yeah, well, we have the opportunity. All of us up here at Sakivi may have more than others, but not like a high development technique. But I think it's good for a room of developers to kind of hear feedback from people that want to see adoption further. We'll first kind of pick on the wallets in the ecosystem. We'll go back, start with Sakib. Sakib, if you could let us know what are your either your favorite or favorites BCH wallets, and some at least one new feature you'd like to see implemented within the next year.
My favorite wallet has changed, and it keeps continuing to change. Because I used to love Zapit, and then I switched, and then it was Paytaka for a bit, and then Selene, and now I came to Bliss with the Cashanize APK. So I've played with them all, and I think they all have really good, important, unique selling points, and I think they all have certain flaws, and no one wallet is going to meet the demand of every single user. But I think there isn't one that's an easy onboard for my target audience, personally. I think that there's a gap in just combining education with the wallet, and I would love to see some way that you can onboard easily, slickly, beautifully, without having too many steps, but ensuring that the new user understands what they have in their hand. And the second thing, which kind of excites me more than everything else, is one of the questions I get a lot as a new user when they get Bitcoin Cash is always the volatility question, and it's a major problem. And so I had this one user from Pakistan just contact me a month ago, and she'd received $20 of BCH value by doing 2 peer reviews, and she's super excited, and she was messaging me, and I don't want to be dealing with this type of, my job is get the journal going and all this kind of stuff, and I'm dealing with this user that's messaging me about Bitcoin Cash and how can I stabilize it, and I want it in US dollar value because I'm worried about the volatility. And I'm having these emails in the middle of the night saying, okay, well, how do I get this user in Pakistan to, and so I'm like, all right, so I'll just tell it to go to Binance, set up a Binance account, convert it to USDT, so it's off my back. So what I would love, and I'm really excited by this stablecoin situation. Right now, there's a bit of a barrier to entry to get a stablecoin, and I would love a wallet to be able to extremely easily. You've got Bitcoin Cash, you click a button, switches it over to a stability value, and within the app itself, and that would be so easy for me to onboard, because then I can just send the BCH and say, if you want to convert it, it's in the app, it's stable, don't have to worry about it.
So if you have one improvement this year, that
I would love to see that.
Developer, wallet builders to have that.
I want to be able to see a switch button and just convert from a cash token to a stability cash token within the wallet. I'd be so happy.
Awesome. Sal, same question to you. Favorite wallet, or maybe shout out a couple, and one feature that you would like to see adopted in.
I guess the trouble with wallets is that everybody here wants the best Bitcoin Cash wallet. Everybody at the Monero conference wants the best Monero wallet, but the reality is most people in crypto hold multiple coins. So you really need a wallet that's going to check all those boxes. And of course you want the wallet to do as much as possible. I mean, there's wallets nowadays that have encrypted messenger services built in, and DEX just built right into the wallet. So you want to have as many features as possible, but the trick is to do that in a way that's friendly for the user. It has to have a good user experience. Right now, Edge Wallet is really on top of the game. They have this cutting edge feature, which it's common sense, actually. We were talking about this on lunch. They have this new feature called duress mode, which just launched the other day. So if somebody puts a gun to your back, it's like, give me your crypto, you can just type in a dummy pin, and you get a dummy balance on your wallet, and you're like, look, I only have a cent. You can't take all my crypto. And frankly, that should be standard, and that really should be standard not only just on wallets, but on ATMs and everything. So I'm really digging the Edge wallet right now. On my phone, I have 1,000 wallets downloaded. Paytaka, Bitcoin.com, the Edge wallet. I've got Cake wallet. I've got the Zano wallet. I mean, I've got wallets coming out of my ass. And it would be nice to sort of consolidate them, but again, I'm not the guy to do that. So.
But you would advise that would be one ask to the wallet developers for a specific Bitcoin Cash one to have a privacy thing where they can't.
So duress mode would be wonderful. I also think again, if you can fit as many features into that wallet as possible, that would be great. So, yeah.
Elliot, what about you? We were talking a lot about wallets over lunch.
Yeah. So Bitcoin Cash is full of incredibly smart people. So I agree. Like I think I'm joining. I'm one of the most stupid people in the room. Very smart people, very geeky people as well. Like a lot of developers, and it shows in the wallets, to be honest. So when thinking about the next billion users, the next billion users, the vast majority of those users aren't highly smart, highly geeky people. Yeah, I mean, I'm the same as Akib. I've been recommending lots of different wallets. Also Zapit. I think Zapit looks quite smooth. I've had some challenges there. I've been using Paytaka. I love Joe Ma and what he's doing. Supports cash tokens really well, and I think for me that's like if you're into tokens, cash token Paytaka wallet is the one that I would recommend. But when I'm showing new people just P2P payment and cash, I might get lambasted for this because I know it's not that popular right now, and it has definitely got worse than when I was using it back in 2021. But the Bitcoin.com wallet still has this snappiness and animation that for the average person that's not a geeky, not a very highly intelligent person, it's nice. It's got that sort of Apple sophistication. So right now, it really depends on what you're looking for. And there's a lot of great wallets out there, but my wish for the wallet developers would be the functionality is great, and for everyone that's already in Bitcoin Cash and everyone here, like that's really important, and we're going to keep on iterating and adding in new features as the chain improves. But the core experience, I would like to see lots of focus going in this to be super simple, to open it up and it's, send, receive, and it's really clear for anyone that has got no idea about, what's a QR code? Is that like my login password? Is this, what is this? Because of course for us, it's very simple. It's obvious we've got some experience, but for a new user, blah. So, and have this one, I'd like, so I'm someone that I'm quite into the Apple world, which I know isn't that popular in an open source community. But, when you receive a coin, if you have like a little animation of BCH flipping and the sound, a little bit of dopamine releases in the head, or if I'm sending you a fiendish token or vice versa, that you even see the kind of token that you're receiving. I think that would be really nice. Like these little things, it's so superfluous, but that experience, it needs to be a joy to use. If we want to get the next 8 billion people using Bitcoin Cash. So that's what I'd love to see some focus on over the next 12 months.
Yes, we were talking at lunch. My wife said, I don't want to, you guys would all speak in high level, but if they could just make it like Venmo, which just now just think it's got Bitcoin Cash in there too, which I thought was pretty cool. Bitcoin Cash got adopted by Venmo, but yeah, I think that just plays the UI, like user utility.
If I could just add one thing, it was something we were discussing at lunch, which I think is really important. Like I know we hate fiat and we hate banks, but they've invested like super amounts of money with the best programmers to develop like apps. So all of my banking apps over the last couple of years have all been updated to be truly enjoyable experiences. So I don't enjoy fiat. I don't like it. I much prefer Bitcoin Cash. But actually when I'm using the banking apps, they're amazing. So for all app developers out there, just go and try out some banking apps and think about how it's set up. Because the more that experience is like what people are already used to, like you're saving like all of the millions that they've invested to get those benefits. So.
And you're also competing. Bitcoin Cash wants to be a bank for the world, right? A decentralized banking system. You're competing with the fiat world. You're not competing with other cryptocurrencies. You're competing with the user experience of the banks. And honestly, every single app that I've got, there's a banking app in every country that I've worked in, is amazing. Yeah. I genuinely love checking my balance. It's very easy to send money. It's very easy to do bits and pieces, and I don't need to check. Like it's easy to do, and I find every crypto app I've ever used to be. I'm having to think about it quite a bit to figure it all out, and so it's quite easy to have a standard to get to. Just got to follow that and just make it the decentralized payment network. I think it'll be easy.
The challenge of that, though, is that a lot of that ease of use comes from the centralization. Like a lot, and obviously we're all doing the opposite of that. So the difficulty is in recreating that user experience in a decentralized way.
So we'll hop over to cash tokens, as we've been talking a lot about. So Keith, you kind of answered this, but if I'm going to take that out, we got an announcement yesterday of a new stable coin, and now we have a Mariah updating at the end of this month. Now that we've received stable coins, what token would you like to see next, or what would you like to see from the cash tokens ecosystem? I know your number one ask was
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I got asked this a little bit. Somebody probably asked me, should the journal have its own cash token, right? And I was like, we have no need for a cash token. All we need is Bitcoin Cash, send and receive. And so, from a personal perspective or from the project perspective, there's no reason for a cash token. But if I want to see cash tokens actually be adopted, sadly there is a number go up situation. And what I want to see is successful cash tokens projects. Because the only way that you're going to get adoption of enterprise and entrepreneurship and products on cash tokens is there if there are successful money-making products on it. And so I don't really care which cash token product is next, but I want to start seeing successful adoption of the product that then generates interest in the whole ecosystem, and then the whole thing goes. So whichever one wants to create it is great, but I don't mind.
Gotcha. Sal, any feedback for the token builders?
Yeah, so, well, two things there. Number one, stablecoins scare the shit out of me. I've always felt like a coin whose value is tied to the whims of a central banker is by definition not stable. It really needs to be tied to some market commodity. But I guess that's like a sort of separate discussion. Right now in the U.S., there's two bills before the parasites in Congress, the Genius Act and the Stable Act. And essentially these are backdoor attempts to sort of turn existing stable coins into CBDCs. Rather than having the Fed create their own stable coin, they're just going to take over Tether, and just everybody who's using Tether is now using a CBDC. And again, that's why I think we need privacy on a lot of these chains and a lot of these coins. But as far as tokens go, like I've always, as an agorist, I've always been promoting this idea of a Tocambrian explosion, which is not my term. I don't know if any of you guys know Gabriel Cardona, the old R&D guy from Bitcoin.com. He really clued me into this. And if we can tokenize securities and assets, imagine what a disruptive effect that would have on a lot of these regulators. Like, for example, FINRA. What is FINRA? FINRA is just a cartel of brokers. So they sort of monopolize the brokerage industry. And if we can tokenize securities and assets and then trade them in a permissionless fashion, we can make these parasites irrelevant. And I think that would be a great way for us to sort of punch back at the SEC and sort of make them irrelevant. And I'm not sure any chain has really done that in an efficient way yet. So that's sort of the biggest use case from an Agora's perspective that I can come up with for tokens.
That would be insane.
Yeah.
Elliot, feedback for the token builders. What do you want to see this next year?
Yeah. So it's interesting because like the original question was cash tokens, and then we're talking about tokens. And I think this is one of the, like, if we could go back in time, should we have called it cash tokens? Maybe not, right? Because cash tokens enable so much more than tokens and meme coins. Just as like an anecdote, when we set up the r/cash tokens, like the Reddit subreddit, we didn't actually allow meme coins at the start because like no, we don't want it to just become like bullshit. We want it to be real projects and help real entrepreneurs. So what I'd like to see is like the whole cash token ecosystem like going wider. So I think absolutely what you're talking about there is like actual tokens that are representing something real. So stocks, commodities, it is very interesting. As I guess anyone watching, so that we pitched an idea of Blissmaster, of a ticket, using the cash token technology to take over Ticketmaster. The whole One Nation is a 23 billion industry and growing. So what I'd love to see is like more innovation, actually using that protocols to offer genuine utility that is not just for like having fun and Ponzi schemes and gambling, but actually interesting business concepts that are attractive to hundreds of millions or potentially billions of people in the world outside of crypto.
I just want to he's 100% right. I couldn't agree more. Like, we need tokens with real utility. And like there's an argument that meme coins and NFTs and stuff will help drive adoption. Maybe there's something to that, but as an agorist, I really want to see like the disruptive potential thrown in there. So, and there's so many different ways to apply this. I used to have a podcast called The Agora, and I used to have John McAfee on, and he would just rant about medical tokens. And he was convinced that these medical tokens were going to be like the key to solving the healthcare crisis. And there was a company called Doke Token, which I think they've since changed their name. It's like might be like MCT or something like that. But the idea is you give them access to your healthcare data, and in response you get these DOKE tokens, and these tokens can be exchanged for real-world health services like telemedicine and shit like that. So I think that's another great use case. There's a million. We can probably do a whole panel just on ways to use tokens in a disruptive fashion. So be creative. Use your mind. You know, like tokens can represent anything. Look at the metaverse. Everything in the metaverse is a token. During the scamdemic, we were prohibited from meeting amongst ourselves by the political class, just like the colonial Americans were prohibited from gathering in taverns because they were afraid of, they were going to start some sort of rebellious movement. But in the metaverse, again, people think it's like all bullshit and stuff like that, but there's a real world use case here. People can get together in the metaverse, and everything in the metaverse is an NFT, or even like homeschooling. Imagine like a future where everybody, you can have like a world-class teacher, and students from all over the world can gather in one room virtually, to learn. Sotheby's had like a real store in Decentraland for a while. I know like that token hasn't been doing too well, so I'm not sure if that's still there. But Snoop Dogg had a house in Sandbox, and everybody, the real estate, I don't know if you guys remember, the real estate in the metaverse was like, it outpriced real world real estate for a while. Everyone wanted to live next door to Snoop. So like there's so many different ways to use tokens, and I think like the sky is really the limit. It's a key aspect of what we're doing here.
Yeah, if I could add to, I get your sentiment, me specifically as not being tied to a dollar, because we all know how that goes, but I also understand from a like Saqib situation that people just want stableness and simple in and out. But the tokenizing of assets, years ago, when I realized like that it didn't make any sense to really keep much cash around and get going somewhere that I'm not going to get printed away. Like I would even just like use my savings account as like the S&P 500, like just for extra cash, because that annually return 10%. Could you stabilize to like the S&P as like an asset too? I'm sure that would have a better store, just I don't know. It's interesting.
You could just stabilize to anything where there's data, and of course where there's. So I mean, you would have that data. Of course, you'd have an oracle, and there'd be some centralization of that point because someone's having to report that data. Different websites, different. Absolutely, you could create an using, as I understand, for like the protocols that are being used by liquidity. You could actually. It doesn't have to be a USD. It could be an ETF. It could be the top 100. You could literally stabilize and bet on the economy that you're in. Which for me makes a lot of sense. But like a lot of things, it's about the liquidity too. So you need to make sure there's enough people that are actually interested in that, so there's liquidity with your positions.
You could absolutely have like a basket of commodities that are all tokenized and represent some index. But I think the other thing too here is like think about the capital inflows, right? Like so many people are limited right now to invest in stocks and whatnot. But like imagine. If you have like some company out there, instead of going public, you want to raise capital, and normally you would try to get listed. Instead of doing that, imagine you just tokenized your company, and now people can invest with minimal amounts, like minimal requirements, in a permissionless way. Imagine how much better the world would be if we didn't have those restrictions on capital. If capital could flow freely, and now people in underdeveloped countries can invest in, the next Apple or something like that. So. Tokens are absolutely huge. I think most people, even in crypto, don't understand the disruptive potential. Everything is going to be tokenized. If it can be tokenized, it will be tokenized. Art, houses, your car. I mean, we can tokenize a car right now. What's there? A couple hundred people here. We can have you could take a car, divide it into 200 tokens, and then we can have sort of like. Use it as like an Uber or something like that. We can all have returns on token. There's so many different ways to use this technology, and I think cash tokens really kind of puts us sort of ahead of the game here.
Very cool, very cool. A couple more questions, and then we'll go to kind of closing statements for what you guys like to say to the community, and then if any questions, we'll take those as well. But my next question is, what's the biggest competition to BCH, whether it's another cryptocurrency, governments? And is the future multi-coin or a one-coin future, or let's say a handful of coins? Saqib, we'll start with you. So, biggest competition to BCH?
I think firstly, I think that you have to accept it's going to be a multi-coin world, because we're already so disjointed and tribalistic And once you're in a tribe as a human, it's very difficult. If you support a football club, you're not going to change your football club allegiance, right? And it's very similar, I think, with crypto. There's just some people that are so hardcore and wired into whatever they're doing. So if you don't accept a multi-coin world, I think you're living potentially in an illusion. It may become a coin that becomes so dominant that it really dismisses the others, but I don't think that's realistic. And so multi-coin is going to be the world that we're in, and Bitcoin Cash has to play its part within that. In terms of competition, if this is again how I chose Bitcoin Cash, if you look at the top 100 coins on CoinMarketCap, like I said, I think in terms of the ones that are pivoting to a peer-to-peer payment network, which is the original vision, there's a handful. I think it's genuinely, and I don't know enough about these other coins, but I think it's Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, Monero, and then a couple of handful of others. But the others are all completely unrelated to payment networks. So if you had to really focus on the competition being a payment network, it's just a handful. And I think they're all struggling to really get the adoption.
I agree with that. Sal, same question to you. Biggest competition right now to BCH, and what does the future look like in terms of cash coins?
So we're not competing with like BTC and ETH because they don't do anything. These are shit coins. We're competing with, we need to compete with coins that try to be a medium of exchange, right? Like P2P cash. And there's a handful of coins out there doing a pretty good job of it. I think we're one of them, if not leading the pack. Dash, Monero, Litecoin, I mean, you name it. There's a lot of coins out there that you can use in an efficient exchange, medium of exchange. But I think we really need that privacy aspect. I think that's really going to help propel us into like the future and sort of help us maintain that competitive edge. What was the second part of the question?
The future, is it a one coin or multi-coin future?
So I honestly, I know I'm going to be in the minority here, but I don't think it's a multi-coin future. And the reason why is because I'm a student of Mises. And in his book, The Theory of Money and Credit, Mises, who's a hell of a lot smarter than I am, says that a unified market will naturally narrow itself down until only one or two monetary commodities remain. And of course, the example he gives is gold and silver. And I think if you understand what his point is, it makes a lot of sense, right? He walks through the whole thing much better than I can. But yeah, I do think that in the end, like you'll have coins that do different things and different use cases and stuff like that, and that's always going to be there. But in terms of a monetary commodity, the idea is that there's going to be one money eventually. It might not be in our lifetimes, but eventually there will be one money, and that narrowing down will be based on what he and Menger call saleability, and there's different criteria in Menger's book, Origins of Money, that he lays out, like susceptibility to political and social censorship and transaction fees and stuff like that. Menger wrote this in like the 19th century, and I guess the maxis still haven't read it. So,
thank you for the Austrian.
Yeah.
Elliot, same question to you. BCH's biggest competition and the future coin market. How many coins are we looking to?
I'm glad I get to answer differently to you both, because Bitcoin Cash biggest competition is fiat. Right, that's it by a long way. And the great argument there with every single person I speak to is, with fiat, it's guaranteed to go down in value. Like that's 100%. Whereas with crypto, we don't know. It's already better, right? That's the pitch. And it makes people laugh, and it's like, yeah, you're right. Shit, I've got to get some of this. And the second part, sorry, was
multi-coin.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. So I'm with both of you, and it really depends on the time period. So over our lives, of course, it's multi-coin for sure. Even in 100 years, if you look at OSs, if you look at the payment processing systems today, we've got Visa, we've got MasterCard, we've got PayPal, Venmo, and we've got all of these. And I'd imagine even in 1,000 years, that will still be the case. But just like all of these things, you do have the big players. So there'll be a few coins, there'll be Bitcoin Cash, there'll be something else in there. But I'm also like I wouldn't say it'd be 100%, but there will be a certain point in the future where like 99% of the transactions will be just done with this one coin, and that will be this galactic coin, Bitcoin Cash, Emerald Bitcoin. at some point in the future. But it will never be that there's not other coins being used. You will always have little, coins being used with little groups and whatever, and then these things, because humans are tribal. And the idea that, we like to belong, and this idea that we're all going to be like using the same thing, doing the same thing, I think is also flawed, but very much so, but very much aligned with the logic that, when one coin is being used everywhere, why would you use anything else? Like, what's the point?
So network effect.
Exactly, the network effect. So yeah, that's why exactly why I'm focused very much on one coin, is because if we want to have success against the biggest competitor, which is really important to remind everyone, it's not BTC. Like, really, fuck BTC. It's not important. It's irrelevant. Their market cap's nice. We want that, but nothing to do. But that's not the competition. The competition is fiat. And the only way we're going to beat fiat I can spend everywhere, every single place. You spend your dollars even in different countries that aren't anything to do with the US. It's crazy. We need that with Bitcoin Cash, or we need that with one coin. And so therefore it makes sense for me, and I think anyone that loves P2P Cash, is to focus on building the network of the coin that they believe has the most chance of success.
I mean, it's not even just like fiat, it's like the bank itself, right? Because fiat is trash. It's the biggest shitcoin in existence. I mean, what fart coin is worth more than the US dollar at this point? But like, it's the bank that like sort of coerces the monopoly. That's the true.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moving on to the last question, and this was a conversation we had over the opening podcast. In terms of adoption, I think we agreed that like if we could only get a really good crisis to move everyone onto crypto, I think people drive around their lives and live a pretty good life. And they're not too worried about, that question of what money is, or if am I being slowly inflated away. So my question is, I believe BCH is building the world a lifeboat, but how do we get them off the Titanic of fiat currency before a crisis, or is that what it's going to take? We'll start with Sakib on that question.
I've always said in private circles that it's going to take a crisis, because most people don't think about this high-level problem that crypto solves, which is the non-censorship and the decentralization. Most people don't care about that. They have much other bigger problems in their lives to worry about: getting paid, going to work, looking after the kids. And all of us with this high-level thinking that we want a decentralized system because the banking is controlling everything and the government monopoly is not what the vast majority of people think about. It's true, right? And so. And the only major use case left of crypto is that. Like the rest of it, of like nice quick payments and instant and borderless, a lot of the fiat is managed to resolve with their various apps and Cash Apps and Venmos, and it's competitive. So the only real use case left of crypto is the fact that it's non-censored and decentralized. And the only time that people are going to value that is when they are threatened. And the only time they are threatened is when the government is controlling the lives to the point that it's affecting them. And that's going to take the crisis. And there's flashpoints. There's various global flashpoints where that's starting to happen. Perhaps in more frequency than it was 20 years ago, but you can start seeing that the government is cracking down on various parts in various industries, whether it's healthcare, whether it's war, various politics, protesting. There's enough people starting to feel that their freedoms are getting crushed. And that sentiment is growing across the world. And I think it's only when people link the two of feeling oppressed with the solution of having a system that is outside of that oppression. And I think it's going to have to get worse before people really embrace it.
Let's bring on the crisis. Sal, what do you think?
So yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. That's been my thesis in crypto since I got in like 12, 13 years ago. The whole idea was that, the Federal Reserve is driving us into this, they brought us into this liquidity trap, and eventually we're going to end in this sort of inflationary spiral. And crypto was always a lifeboat. So yeah, I think that eventually when the Federal Reserve does finally shit the bed, people are going to have no choice but to move into crypto. But I also think that, as the state sort of, because the bank is caught in this trap where either they print money and we have hyperinflation, or they stop printing money and we have a terrible recession, they've sort of like a fish out of water. They've become like, they're sort of losing control. And as a response to that, they're sort of clamping down. They're becoming more and more oppressive every day. And I think as they become more and more oppressive, the need or the demand for P2P cash is going to grow and grow and grow and grow. until finally we reached what the Austrians called that universal demand, where everybody on Earth wanted gold, not because it was useful as money, but because it had this sort of decorative or ornamental purpose, and because everyone already wanted it, it was very easy to become a monetary commodity. In the same way, I think that everyone's going to want P2P cash because the state is going to be so incredibly oppressive, and once everyone wants it, it's going to be very easy at that point to use as a medium of exchange. The question, of course, is when, right? I mean, obviously we're all very early, so we might be too early, but that's the way it goes. So,
Elliot, can we save humanity before they sink?
So first of all, to answer that, someone's got to be early, right? So.
Yes, true, fair.
Yeah, so I'm increasingly of the belief that it may take a catastrophe to get that separation from money from state. But here's a thought experiment. Hands up here who has children. Okay, keep your hand up if your children always do exactly what you tell them to do. Okay, one hand from many. All human beings are born with a desire to be free and autonomous and have self-control. And if anyone with small children, you see this, it's ferocious. And it's not just a human thing. I have cats, I've had many animals, dogs, and all animals want this. You go into a zoo and there's a cage and the lion will walk around in circles and they go crazy. Freedom and liberty is a natural state of life, of all creatures, and it's in humans too. So, I agree, most people are too busy with life. But something happens though, the average person, they go through many years of indoctrination in the education system, and the state education system, is completely controlled by the state and very much formulated in a way to accept the authority and to not ask too many questions. And then you get jobs, and you're busy, and you have children, you have growing responsibilities, and it's, for the average adult, they don't care. They just want a comfortable life, and they're more than happy to be a bird in a golden cage. But there's an important part missing here. What about the people that haven't gone through all of that processing? What about the youth? What about the young teenagers who are still zesty and believe, screw the man, and they want to be free? And I think this is being missed in crypto. When I look at Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, it tends to be a bit older in a lot of OGs that were there. And I think that there needs to be more interaction with young people, with youths, which I also try to do, with 17, 18, people that are also starting university, because they're actually really, really thinking about this in Germany and how important this mission is. Because if you get people that actually really care about it, okay, right now they've got no money. They can't influence the price of Bitcoin Cash. But in a few years, those are going to be the ones that are changing everything. And they're also going to be the ones that end up voting and also maybe becoming politicians. They're going to be the ones that are actually using this. So I think the way that, a real way that we can actually create this without a collapse and do it in a much nicer way and a much friendlier way is to aim at the right sort of audience. So let's start watering those seeds.
Yeah, I find that very interesting. I heard a good saying. I got really into what's the term, like extending your life, even freezing my body. I was studying doing that, wanting to live a long time. And I forget who said it, but it rung a bell that the youth is so important, and living for long times actually may not be beneficial to society. It could be the ossification, because people don't change their minds; they just die. And that's actually made some sense in terms of civilization to bring new ideas. If people don't change their minds, they'll eventually die. And I know it sounds kind of strange to say, but time might just be on our friend. And if people are unwilling to change their minds, that they may not.
No, I'm just depressed.
But it's also a good point. For all of you that have children, which I'm guessing most of you do, make sure you're very open about your children, about why you're in Bitcoin Cash and what the reason is. Of course, in a way that's nice and filtered for their little brains, but in a way that they really get it. Screw the state, separate money from the state. That's all good. And Bitcoin Cash is the best coin and the best money in the world.
All right, so I wrote out a closing statement for myself, and then I'll let you gentlemen finish. And if anyone has questions, feel free to share. But again, I just wanted to send my gratitude for everyone for making this trip. I know we got people from how many different countries, Jeremy? 20 different countries. Taking this time for something that we're obviously very passionate about. But I just wanted to share a message The road to a world of building peer-to-peer electronic cash was never going to be easy. Taking down fiat currencies is probably one of the most monumental tasks that humanity's ever taken on. I do believe the hijacking of BTC, which a lot of us were really encouraged of when BTC was what it was. I think that was inevitable. I think walking in on the state, they weren't going to go down easy. I believe that Bitcoin Cash and coins with this sentiment are the resistance that'll move humanity forward. The separation of money and state must take place to liberate humanity from financial censorship and remove us from the deceitful and evil process of inflating. And I believe BCH is building the most complete ecosystem on the foundation of sound money. And as I stand in a room full of people that are building the tools for more economic freedom, I just want to thank you guys and consider what I first talked about, really incorporating the why, whatever the why is. For me, the why, there's old Adam Kokesh used to always say, his why was because he just wanted to peacefully destroy the federal government, and I always share that with friends in close circles. So thank you guys so much for making Bliss possible, and I know I speak for Jeremy and Jonathan as well, but it's been a pleasure to meet all you guys. So Sakib, if you want to close out as well.
Yeah, no, I always close out by with a big thank you because, again, I haven't had a chance to really discuss the project, but the project that I'm doing is so disruptive to an industry that's got nothing related to cryptocurrency, but it needs cryptocurrency to prove that the model works. And for this to work, I've needed the Bitcoin Cash community to embrace the idea, and they have, and I'm extremely grateful for the support I've received and the changes that we're making, and I would hope that over the next year or two, continue to getting that support until I've managed to get the mass adoption within my own community to embrace the idea and use the currency itself. So it's a big thank you for the support, and I'm really hopeful, maybe next year, maybe the year after, I hope to be on the podium with a success story, not just a promise that this is possible, but this has been done. So this is kind of my vow that I hope that I'll be there.
Nice. Looking forward to it. Sal, closing message.
So I just want to say thank you to you and the organizers of this event, because it's events like this that bring the more passionate people in the community together. So you guys did an excellent job with this conference, and I hope this happens every year. So definitely kudos to you guys. My hat goes off to you guys. Also, you guys out there, it's you guys are the community for P2P Cash. So this is on you. This is your baby. So it's between you guys and the organizers. This is the community that's going to make it happen. So shout out to everybody who's here and who made the trip. I guess just in closing, I would just say, I guess the message that I really want to impart to you guys is the importance of privacy and how desperately Bitcoin Cash needs privacy to maintain that competitive edge. So if you are a developer out there, I think that is the chief problem that Bitcoin Cash needs to address in the future, and I hope you guys will look into it. Other than that, just keep pushing P2P Cash for the world, and don't lose sight of the goal. The gold standard in crypto is P2P Cash. It's not. There's a million use cases, but we have to maintain that laser focus on P2P Cash. So other than that, I just want to say thank you for everybody coming out, and thanks to the organizers.
Thank you. Elliot, closing statement?
Yeah. Thank you also to the organizers. It's been an amazing couple of days, really enjoying myself, and to everyone that made the effort and joined us for this most important mission. And yeah, it's super important that regardless of what we're doing, we do not forget what it is that we're building. Permissionless, decentralized money for the world, for everyone to be able to participate in the financial economy. And also to remember that the power and utility of money is exponentially linked to the size of the network. So keep building your products, keep getting the new users outside of Bitcoin Cash, keep growing that network so that we can realize this dream and everyone can enjoy this, the perfect money that we're building. Thank you. Have a great Bliss.
All right. Thank you to our panel. One more round of applause for them. And I've just got a couple of last little announcements before I let you go. Firstly, Ryan taking a keen interest in cryogenics, clearly hearing the cold storage message, taking that to the next level. Good to see, innovation.
All right, guys, with the recent election of Donald Trump, there has been an undeniable spike in both the interest and price of cryptocurrency. It seems today that everybody and their mother has a significant amount of wealth in crypto. As agorists, this is a wonderful thing to be celebrated. But one question I constantly get is, how should I store my crypto? The answer, of course, is in offline cold storage. And I have here today the C12 Core Security Kit from CryptoSteel. Durable, affordable, from a company I trust and a team I personally know. They've got over 10 years of experience in R&D, and they've sold over 100,000 units. But what's really cool about this is that it's virtually indestructible. How indestructible? Well, we're about to find out.
I know, man, it's still pretty fucking hot, but it seems to have survived.
Well, if it's that indestructible, shouldn't it be able to survive an explosion?
Alright guys, so as you can see, the tamper-proof security seal did not survive, but it's made out of plastic. That's to be expected. The important stuff, however, did survive. So you can recover your password in the event of a fire, explosion, flood, being run over by a car, or thrown off a building. Of course this thing survived. It's made out of space-grade steel. But there you have it, guys. The CryptoSteel Core Security Kit from CryptoSteel.com. Now you know why they sold over 100,000 units. Get yours today, CryptoSteel.com.
This is Freedom Dollar, FUSD, the world's first privacy-focused stablecoin built on the Zano blockchain. Unlike traditional stablecoins, FUSD is decentralized, censorship-resistant, and private by default. Each FUSD is over-collateralized with Zano and pegged to the US dollar using a decentralized algorithm. There's no CEO, no company, no central authority. FUSD is governed entirely by open-source code and community consensus. Anyone can run a market-making node to help maintain the peg and further decentralize the network. All collateral and peg data are transparently published and verifiable at freedomdollar.com. CBDCs and corporate stablecoins can be frozen, tracked, and censored. FUSD can't. Use FUSD to spend, save, or transfer stable value without giving up your freedom. Freedom Dollar, private, stable, unapologetically unbanked. freedomdollar.com.
Now we are dealing with a possible world war. Some will say we are already in a world war. My condolences and prayers go out to everyone suffering under tyranny. It really sucks. I'm really sorry. But it seems as if people are starting to wake up regarding crypto more and more each day. And so it's in the description right here to read, where we give our secret sauce and what we teach our subscribers, because things are just that bad. You know, everyone needs this information. People need to know about sound cryptocurrencies that are actually private by default, and to know how to properly use crypto.